everyone. My name is Kai-Yaneeke Tapper, representing the University of the West Indies Mona campus in Kingston, Jamaica. And today I'm going to be presenting just a part of my research, and it's going to be titled Jamaican Popular Music in Transition. So let's get started. When I speak about Jamaican popular music in transition, reggae, if we're speaking about reggae, was internationalized in the 70s by Bob Marley and the Wailers, but since his passing, the genre has come up short in competition with other international mainstream genres. So, this is due to numerous variables and changes within the music industry. Some of these changes that I'm talking about are the digitization of music and as well as the advent of streaming has also massively impacted music sales, and that has pushed today's reggae artists to reconfigure their business models and marketing strategies. Furthermore, due to this technological advancement and an observed reconfiguration of business and marketing strategies, a change in sound has also occurred. I will be playing demos of some examples of this change of sound that I am claiming. It could be argued that these changes in sounds puts the state of Jamaican music into a liminal space, because it's such a fusion of different genres these days that what comes together to make something uniquely Jamaican. The problem with it though is that even in our own homeland, we're having problems categorizing this music because it doesn't fall within the dancehall or the reggae category strictly. So the liminality of this space is further compounded by the fact that the popularity and subsequent saturation of radio play of dancehall, it has led to a reactionary resurgence of reggae consciousness, which started to pick up with the reggae revivalists around the year 2010. This resurgence, dubbed the Reggae Revival, has several objectives, some of which include encouraging spiritual development through musical or uplifting messages, to promote a sense of community around creatives, as well as to encourage Black pride and African aesthetics. Um, these objectives and interactions, it has contributed to changes in the reggae landscape, but there's very little literature on the study of this phenomenon. Therefore, this presentation seeks to explore reggae in transition by tracing the impetus of the reggae revival as well as its emerging effects through an exploration of past reggae trends, as well as comparing them to the current sounds and production styles that we hear in contemporary local Jamaican music, while also interrogating the current state of the reggae genre as well as its future on the worldwide music scene. So, to start off, you must be wondering, what is the Reggae Revival? The Reggae Revival is a cultural movement of rising consciousness originating in Jamaica. It is an explosion of artistic expressions with music at the forefront, which gradually influencing the mentality of the present generation toward positivity, Afrocentric spirituality, and self-determination all over the world. And this is from the Reggae Revival site, that definition where it was drawn from. So, a little bit more background on what the Reggae Revival is. The Reggae Revival movement is an initiative and term which was coined by author Dottie Bookman and musician protege to have a resurgence of consciousness and spirituality that was potent in Jamaican society preceding the dancehall era. This is not to say that dancehall is just not conscious. It also has elements of spirituality and consciousness. It's just not as saturated within the dancehall genre as its reggae predecessor. Furthermore, through patronage at various Jamaican events, my previous research indicates that there is evidence of a change in the standard of, as well as an increase in the live performances with bands and other events around sound system culture. This is largely around events that you might not know of, but Dubwise, Sankofa Sessions, Dub Club, Dub School, Inner City Dub. These are all events that was really rallying around and bringing back a resurgence of sound system culture in Jamaica, particularly in the Kingston city. In addition to defining or contextualizing the reggae revival, um, in the Small Axe article, Bongo Futures, Reggae Revival and its Genealogies, written by Kezia Page, she explained why the author Dottie Bookman coined the term reggae revival. She said, and I quote, he coined the term reggae revival to describe and to name the young musicians, artists, and writers who have returned to the root sound and who have embraced Rasta as the spiritual center of their art. But the term itself is contested. For one, first generation reggae artists have suggested that reggae never nearly died and therefore didn't need a revival. They argue that this so called reggae revival is an uptown idea with all the attendant privileges, that is, access to media, education, and a fan base that blooms everlasting from social media networks. End quote. So, while the term reggae revival is contested mostly by reggae enthusiasts or the older generation of reggae practitioners, it's evident that there are young musicians in the local industry today who fall under Dottie Bookman's description of the term reggae revival. So you have musicians such as Protege and the Indignation, Chronics and the Zinc Fence Band, Kabaka Pyramid and the Beba Rockers, Janine and Dub Treatment, to name a few, right? So what this group of musicians have done is to recapture Jamaica's youth attention by returning to the root sound of reggae but give it a modern twist. They have also built international appeal both in the United States as well as Europe, and this has landed artists like Protege and Chronics on international stages such as Coachella and the Jimmy Fallon, The Tonight Show. So therefore, the Reggae Revival's mission is to refocus society's consciousness on positivity and spiritual development, and they're going to be doing this by using music, visual arts, and other artistic expressions as the main mediums for expressing this message. So if we're going to take into consideration Jamaica's music industry background, specifically looking at from the ska to the dancehall period, as well as other historical proceedings such as the Tivoli incursion, which is one of the main causes for the incitement of the reggae revival movement, it becomes significant in questioning the current musical landscape and generation of new Jamaican artists who could be responsible for contributing to a new chapter in the evolution of Jamaican music. And now we're going to talk about branding and marketing in the digital age, right? So we're talking about the business model reconfigurations that I alluded to earlier on in this presentation. So if we're going to consider the state of the music industry today, most musicians have found it more beneficial to manage their career independently. At least this is what I'm talking about, I see happening in Jamaica. More artists have found it beneficial to manage their career independently. That this is without being tied up under a contract with a record label, nothing like a 360 deal or anything like that. This gives the artists more creative control as well as the freedom to choose their own distribution and marketing methods, right? So in an article that I read titled How Evolving Tech Has Changed Music Production, the relationship between label and the artists are discussed, where Peter suggested, quote, this is a quote, by eliminating the necessity of a third party, musicians are now able to deal directly with their audience. This brings with it benefits and conflicts. As creative control is returned to musicians, they also find themselves responsible for the business side of the music industry. End quote. This is evident with artists using social media and digital platforms as marketing and distribution tools. With the decreasing popularity of CD sales and the rise in digital downloads and online streaming, artists can distribute their music solely on digital platforms rather than spending more money on manufacturing CDs or depending on radio play for exposure. So, while being an independent artist has its perks, one disadvantage can be the source of funding and getting a foot in the door with certain networks that can help propel their career forward. So, nonetheless, we have evidence of fairly successful independent musicians who take advantage of the integrated marketing approach. In recent times, we have seen how the power of a strong brand and aesthetic can really help boost an artist's relevance and online presence. So, for example, here, this is just some screen grabs of Protege's website. You can see this is when he had his previous album drop, A Matter of Time. You can see available now, what platforms is available: Amazon, Deezer, iTunes, Spotify, all of those, they are there. And then if you continue to go on the site, there's more screen grabs of, the most recent videos and projects he has out with. Right here is No Guarantee featuring Chronics. And then also there's a merchandise store section available on the site. This is also observable on Kabaka Pyramid's website. Some screen grabs here of Kabaka Pyramid's website with tour dates. So if you wants to know, I want to know, if he's coming to my city, you have like streamlined way of which information is distributed through these artists' website, in addition to their other social networks like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, right? And then on social media, everything is about the look and feel of things. So here I have some screen grabs of Janine Online's, what her page looked like at some point. It's just a lot of screen grab pictures of her performing, or part of her spiritual practice. She's a yogi practitioner. So that's also links back with some of the Reggae Revival's mission, which is to encourage Afrocentric spirituality. And here you have Kabaka Pyramids and Proteges, a screenshot of what part of their page looked like at some point in their career. You can see here in the third screen grab to the right that Protege at one point used the grid to really tell a story on his Instagram page when he was doing promotion for his album Ancient Future. So you have one row where it's just like the whole cover, the front, the middle, and the back of what the album would look like. And then a whole section, a whole grid highlighting with art of his Coachella set when he would be performing and all of that. So as I was just saying, that all of these artists, so the Reggae Revivalists, Kabaka Pyramid, Jana and Protege Chronics, they all have their own website. That means they can access tour dates, latest single or album, any updates, as well as buy merchandise, whether it's a t-shirt, cap, whatever it is they have on sale in the store. So they also use the social media platforms as a marketing tool, streamline information, and a direct relation between artists and their fan base. So these platforms are very critical to the development of an artist's career. So whether they're an aspiring artist or a superstar, and this is mainly because of the global reach that you get with social media. From anybody has internet access, there's a possibility that they can discover you and your music. So as each social media platform evolves, it's important that the artist's marketing and distribution efforts evolve with it. An artist can be booked for a show without a lot of radio airplay or print media coverage based on their influence on social media. So these days, most times, artists promote and distribute their music via online platforms such as, them, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, SoundCloud, Audiomack, Pandora. And most of these are available on these platforms digitally before physical copies, whether it's CD or vinyl, are available for purchase. According to the Global Perspective on Media Events in Contemporary Society, consumers have power over which products are released to the market. In a consumer-driven market, The audience demands what they want, and it's up to the producers or the manufacturers to supply what is being demanded to gain support. We will see this with musicians today who try to build engagement with their fan bases. On social platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, artists used to gain insight from their fans through engagement, whether it's by tweeting a question, a poll on Instagram, or a Facebook status update. There are many ways for them to reach out and engage with their fans. So we're going to be talking about the reinvention of Jamaican sound, or the in transition phase that is currently in. I like to call it the liminal phase. Since the digitization of the music industry, individuals had to adapt to new business models to complement evolving technology, which has also had an effect on the sound of music that we hear today. With the introduction of the digital audio workstation, a software that records, produces, and modifies audio files, brought with it many variables that the industry was just not prepared for at all. Backtracking to the infant years of the reggae genre in the late 1960s, live instruments were used in the musical composition of the genre. So we have the drums, horn section, organ, keyboard, and bass were some of the fundamental instruments heard in reggae. In the decades to follow, however, other technology that were used in production were sequencers, as well as the development of the MIDI and digital sequencers, which acted as a precursor to the digital audio workstation. With the advent of DAWs, which I'm calling as the digital audio workstation DAWs, it allowed for essentially anyone with a computer and internet access and the software installed to be able to produce from home, and they don't have to have any production or engineering knowledge to do this. They just need a computer and the software. It is no longer a requisite to purchase expensive equipment or having to rent hours of studio time in order to record or produce material. In terms of how DAWs affected the way sound was produced and modified in recordings, software such as Pro Tools, Fruity Loops, Ableton, Garage, or GarageBand, they all came with preset sound kits, which would imply that those who use these programs have access to the same catalog of sounds. The advent of DAWs has had a significant impact on the development of Jamaican music, which is especially evident in the music released within the past decade. Music released by artists such as Royal Blue, Coffee, Runkus, Tessellated, Jane Machismo, and Jada Kingdom, to name a few, represent musical styles fused with a variety of genres while still maintaining a sense of Jamaican identity through their dialect and social commentary. When you listen to their music, sometimes fundamental reggae instrumentation is used, albeit not necessarily live instrumentation, but they also incorporate other influences resembling jazz, hip hop, afropop, trap, R&B, and indie. Right here, you can see in this slide, these are just some of the people I'm talking about. Coffee, Tessellated, and you have Royal Blue, Jada Kingdom, Runkus, right? You can hear some of what I'm talking about in recordings such as Runkus's Burn Everything, Royal Blue's Hype and Style and Pattern, Tessellated's I Just Learned Some Jazz Today, or Coffee's Toast, or Rapture. Any of those and many more. Jane Magismo's One Away. I'm going to play those demos for you very shortly. I'm going to do that now, actually. You might see me in red gold. Enough of them can't conquer them soul and clean. Go and reach the coast stove and eat up the old and scheme and it done. Burn everything. Don't ever burn everything. Get me out the sun, son of that tyrant. Come and for praise everything. Everything. Don't ever burn everything. Finish up school and you know with the land and you might just learn it. This is Jane Machismo's One Away. A great song. And this was produced by a very young producer, JLL. He's only 24 years old. He's one of the budding producers coming out of the creative community in Jamaica right now. This is a snippet of Royal Blues Hype. I would also strongly recommend to see some of the visual aspects that I'm speaking about, the elevation and professionalism that we see coming out of these young artists in Jamaica right now is Royal Blues Style and Pattern. Highly recommend you go and watch that video. And this is his song Hype. So yeah, and to finish off, before I close off, I have one more song I wanted to hear. But let's talk about the international crossovers and collaborations in Jamaican popular music right now. Not only has there been a reconfiguration of the music industry's business model and marketing strategies, but there is another shift happening with the sound in Jamaican music generally. But we will focus on reggae for the purpose of this presentation. In contemporary reggae, there has been evidence of a lot of sampling of reggae icons, that is Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Aini Kamosi, and many others. The incorporation of these icons' music in contemporary reggae is creatively used in combination with elements of dancehall, hip-hop, soul, afropop, and indie. This amalgamation creates a unique auditory experience that allows one to question the direction of reggae music. It is adapting new forms. Is it a subgenre of reggae, or could it be a new genre on its own? Another one that I can play to that alludes to this kind of ambiguity is Runkus's the song is called Dollar Signs. It's $3, that's the name of the song, Money. Right, so as you could hear in that, you could hear some string sections, you could hear some dun, 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 dun. We don't normally have string instruments, like especially like the violin heard in Jamaican music. So this is something very new, and you hear like little electronic elements in it as well. It's just very interesting, and it's unprecedented in the development of our music. We're an island that has created many genres before, but I think we're entering another new era and another stage in the development of Jamaican popular music. So millennial or Generation Z musicians, such as what I just showed you earlier, they push local boundaries with their sound. While some of their beats have little to no reggae or dancehall sound structure behind them, what makes the music distinct from the outside influences is their dialect, lyrical content, and social commentary, which makes it authentically Jamaican. The syncretization involving other international genres and local sounds could give some of our musicians a better chance to successfully cross over into the international market by appealing to its palette. An example which has been set and popularized by Chris Blackwell when he was managing the Wailers and was responsible for a lot of the push behind the Catch a Fire release. This wave of creative, innovative millennials and Generation Z artists are an extension of the reggae revival movement, through which artists such as Chronixx have made an impression into international, and namely the North American and European markets. In an era when branding and aesthetic have taken center stage in the entertainment industry, This generation of artists are not only genre bending, but also collaborating more with other creative communities to create high quality visuals. Whether it's a music video, audio visuals, lyric video, visualizer, performance, photo shoot, interview, whatever it is, a strong aesthetic or look is important in image building in today's industry. A recent example of the result of musicians and visual creatives collaborating to create high quality visuals can be observed in Royal Blue's release of his music video, Style and Pattern. In a Gleaner article titled Style and Pattern Cost 1.5 million, Blue, the artist, he had stated, quote, "The video helps to keep people's attention. My friend was saying that this is the Renaissance where art meets sounds. That's the age we're in. Visuals play an important part in influencing how people listen to a song. Videos can make you like a song." End quote. Marketing and popularity aside though, this integration of sounds begs the question, what genre does this auditory experience fall under? Is it still authentic? Especially in the case of these Gen Z musicians whose beats have little to no resemblance to reggae or dancehall sound structure? The answer is this. What makes the music distinct from the outside influences and distinctly Jamaican is their authentic dialect, lyrical content, and social commentary. However, does this still equate to them being distinctly reggae? Is their promotion of social consciousness enough to define them as reggae? When you think of what reggae is, you think of songs such as Bob Marley's One Love or Peter Tosh's Coming In Hot, right? But at the beginning of the reggae era, live instrumental arrangements included bass guitar, keyboard, organ, horn section, and drum set played with an offbeat bass. With the introduction of DAWs, producers have experimented with a variety of digital sound kits and instruments not typically heard in reggae, resulting in experimentation that has influenced the sounds produced in today's music. But what does this mean for the direction of reggae? Is it adapting new forms? Is it a subgenre of reggae? Or could it be a new era on its own? In conclusion, since the reggae revival in 2010 as a distinctive era in Jamaica's cultural and musical history, there has been an observed further evolution in Jamaican popular music. Reggae revival musicians such as Kabaka Pyramid, Chronix, Protege, and so forth set a trajectory of creative expression in visual and performing arts and promotion of innovation and incorporation of other global sounds into the music. Following the reggae revival era, the new wave of millennial and Generation Z artists such as Coffee, Royal Blue, Runkos, Jane Magismo, and so many more, they have taken the sound a step further in the evolution of Jamaican sound. This step, however, seems to put the local music in a liminal space that these artists' music appears to fit in neither the reggae nor the dancehall category. It therefore becomes important to inquire about the current state and perceived influences on the evolution of Jamaican popular music and the trajectory that is being set by the prevalent millennial and Gen Z artists and what it could mean for the future of Jamaican music. Jamaican music has been growing and expanding since the 1940s. However, with the advent of new technologies and globalization, reggae music has seen a divergence of sound which could possibly be classified as a new subgenre, therefore truly reflects a genre in transition. Thank you, and that's all for my presentation. Thank you so much.